Bless Online goes into early access next month. It's this close. And there are two things that I want to discuss. One being pay to win, and the other being the possibility of the game not having all the classes in early access. This video might piss a few of you off because I know some of you are guilty of this. I'm going to start by showing this. On April 1st, which is April Fool's, on Steam, Bless made a post. Hello everyone. Now that you know early access for Bless Online will be coming this May, the next question on your mind is probably, how do I keep myself healthy and nourished during that time? So I'm thinking, what? As you scroll down, you see a photoshopped box of chocolate Cheerios replaced with a Bless character. You scroll down even further, you see Pantera Puffs, which are chips. It's little Cheeto Puffs with another Bless character. Of course, they're not actually making this, right? And then I looked at the date and I saw, okay, April 1st, April Fool's, haha. I go to the comment section. Like on the first page, I see, is this one going to be pay to win? For like selling all those important stuff in the game shop for cash. Now, I just got a little triggered because pay to win, that phrase is just such a cancerous term when it comes to MMORPGs. Like, we know that that's a worry with every single game, or at least every MMO, mainly the ones that come from the East because 90% of them are pay to win. But hearing that term all the fucking time, I want to rip my hair out. And I'll explain why. Here they have this April Fool's post about Cheeto Puffs and shit, and you're on it asking if the game's going to be pay to win. Did you really think they were going to go to the comment section and answer you about pay to win? No, it was not going to happen. This is a lighthearted post, you know, just trying to be funny for the community, and here you are asking about pay to win. In fact, they've already answered that question if you looked at the FAQ. If they answered it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be pay to win. Well, if they answered it already, they're not going to answer you in a different way in your comment or wherever you ask them on Twitter. They're not going to say, actually, it might be pay to win, when they put in the FAQ, no, it's not going to be pay to win. I know, I've been screwed over by pay to win too. I fucking hate companies like Tryon, My.com. Totally ruined Revelation, a game that I saw so much potential in. It gets to the point where I was streaming Arcage's first fresh start, and I had like hundreds of viewers watching me on Twitch, and every second someone came in asking, is this pay to win? It's cool, I like to answer people's questions, but when you get asked the same question like 400 times within 20 minutes, so we had a command that we would type. Oh, I noticed the lighting changed in here. We would have a command that someone can just type P2W, and it would say, like, you know, whatever, however I felt about the game's cash model or whatever. And for Revelation Online, I had like 1,000+ people watching, so you can only imagine it was far worse. It got to the point where I banned the word pay to win just because, like, all you have to do is look up at another comment in the chat and your answer is there. Now, this brings me to the next thing, which is when I was looking for some answers to the other topic, which is will all the classes be in the game in early access, I discovered the FAQ, which I already knew about, but just reading through some of it confirmed some things for me, and also some shit I actually didn't know. The first bullet point of the second section, which you can see as soon as you get on this page, it's the section Game and Development. Will Bless be pay to win in bold letters? No. Whatever the monetization model ends up being for Bless, it will not be pay to win. We have heard the community loud and clear that this is not wanted. This is the one thing that's going to kill Bless, is whether or not it's pay to win. It's not going to be the combat. I'll explain why I feel that way in a second. One thing that ruined Bless, I believe, in Russia was that it was pay to win. And people didn't like that. And of course, us, the West, oh, we absolutely despise that. You can have one of the greatest games ever, but if that shit is pay to win, we're out. The only people staying are whales. Hell, if I was a whale, maybe I'd stay too. No offense. But with this answer right here, you're not going to get anything more by asking on the forums, by asking on Twitter, by asking on Facebook. They have made an official statement that it's not pay to win. So constantly asking this shit, you're talking to a brick wall, dude. And people who ask me or other people who are covering this game, we don't know exactly what's going to be in the cash shop. We can't tell you, but once they know, once they put it out there, then we can determine whether or not we consider it pay to win and they don't. But yeah, until then, asking that question, just, you'll find out soon. It launches in 1 month. But if they really want this game to survive, it won't be pay to win, because they have learned their lesson, or they should have learned their lesson. They should have sat back and watched all these other good, decent MMOs die. They should have learned from their previous game and builds dying. And if they actually did pay attention, if they're a good company that's not here to just grab your wallet and suck the soul out of you, then this should be a good game. Now, why don't I think the combat's going to kill the game? The combat in Bless, in my opinion, as I have said many times from what I played, is mediocre. And the rebuild servers, or the Korean client that was getting some rework, and then the Japanese client that was getting some rework, I still found it to be mediocre. Now, I talked about this on Twitter, and I got a reply that the version we are getting is something that we have never seen in any other builds. So the Western version is going to be different than the other builds. I don't know how true that is, and what I personally think, you know, my opinion here, I think that it's going to be very similar. I don't think it's going to be that dramatic of a change. Now, if it is extremely dramatic, I'm talking we get ArcAge type animations, or just crazy fast-paced looking combat and really cool looking skills, then wow, I'll be mind blown and I'll be excited. But I'm preparing for the worst, as I always do as a very pessimistic person, IRL. I'm not expecting much. But the thing is, I'd still play Bless even with the first combat that it ever had. Not saying that everyone would, but I would, as long as it was populated. And I think I've mentioned this in the last video. If I had friends to play with, and if I had people to kill in the open world, that's all I need. Because even with mediocre combat, it still gets super exciting when you're Zerg versus Zerg, or just faction versus faction. Like contesting a giant dragon, that's super badass regardless of the combat. The combat's not that horrible to the point where you just don't feel no impact or don't feel like you're important or even moving. It's just kind of boring. But with all the other exciting stuff going on, it still entertains me. And the dungeons in Bless were some of the best dungeons that I have ever done in my life. Early on in the game, you already had mechanics, one-shot mechanics that felt like end-game dungeons and raids in other games that I've played. So I liked the PvE in Bless, and with the combat, didn't matter. It was still super exciting to feel that adrenaline rush while doing these bosses, because it was so damn hard and took so much cooperation. So I don't think the combat is necessarily going to kill Bless. Now, we also have people saying the game is going to die in 2 months regardless. Well, I guarantee it won't die in the first week. I still think Bless is going to be super popular the same way that ArcAge is whenever they have a fresh start, or when it first launched, because it's that kind of game. Faction versus faction, PvP, open world. I think with a lot of people playing it, it's going to be good. And if it's not pay to win, I guarantee that it's going to survive. Not saying forever, but I definitely think it's going to do well, just because it's that one game that many of us have been waiting on that didn't break our hearts if they don't go pay to win. And for those who really don't like PvP that I've seen in the last video, here they have this answer right here. Will there be a way to avoid PvP if you do not wish to fight? Yes, there will be an item used for avoiding PvP. We will discuss this and how it works at a later date. There is a way to avoid PvP for those that aren't into PvP. And I know I scared some people in the last video by saying this is mainly a PvP focused game. But as I just said, it has some of the best PvE I've ever experienced. So don't turn this game down just because of what I said. Now let's discuss the classes that will possibly be missing from the game. Will there be any races or classes locked behind a paywall? No, of course, that would suck. What classes will be playable during early access? We're planning on announcing the early access classes at a later date. So this tells me that all the classes will not be available unless they have some class that's going to launch later in the game, like in the Korean version that already launched, and like that's going to come with an expansion or something. But this tells me they're not going to have all the classes. And someone was saying the assassin won't be in it, and I don't know what the other was. It was maybe like mage or something like that. Don't know how true that is, but to me that definitely is something that will hurt the game. A lot of people want to play the rogue class, so to not have that class in the game at launch, this isn't Soul Worker. This isn't the kind of game where leveling is super fast and you kind of want to make an alt. You want to play different characters because there's an energy system. Once it runs out, let's switch to the next character and level that. Or they have these super unique playstyles that just makes you want to play them all. It's not Black Desert. It's not an extremely alt-friendly game from what I experienced. So putting all your time into a character that you didn't want to play from the start to then switch later on in the type of game that Bless is, where it's not grindy, and they even answer that. It relies on questing and it can take a while. So to not have the class you really want to play at the start definitely will hurt the game in my opinion, and that might be something other than pay to win and possibly mediocre combat that can bring this game's demise early on. Not many people give games second chances these days. All it takes is a really bad beta, a really bad launch, and people are out of there forever. It sucks, but that's just how it is. First impressions are like everything. But what do you guys think? If Assassin is missing, if Mage is missing, or if 2 classes are missing, how will that affect your experience? Will you still play another class and be fine with it? Maybe this will actually give you a chance to try out a different role, like a tank. And if so, once you do get your main unlocked, then you'll be able to switch between roles, which isn't such a bad thing because I never step out of my DPS role and maybe I need to. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Is the game pay to win? They say no. And that's all we have. We'll get our answer soon. Other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you soon, friends.